ladies and gentlemen. During this kind of program, I don't like to refer to the men. I say, good morning, ladies. So if you are our keyboardist, you are the DJ, you are the photographer, you are the he for she, all the men here, you are all here to serve us. You are serving us today. We are the ones in charge. So we welcome you. Thank you for being here, sirs. And we'd like to start this program, first of all, by appreciating this first session that we had with the virtual presentation. It was so emotional at a point when she started talking about violence, gender violence, and all people go through, because sometimes we sit in these beautiful places and we don't even know what people are going through. A child gets raped, a child gets married, then raped, then gets married to her rapist, then have to endure all that and still have to bury her own child. But then violence is more than gender violence. It's more than gender violence. We have all kinds of violence, and that's what this session is about. Ladies and gentlemen, it is obvious and we know that violent conflicts and insurgency has become all too frequent in most African countries. Sometimes it is triggered by political, ethnic, religious, or even flawed electoral processes. It is time for women to become a leading force for conflict resolution and reducing the tide of insurgency in Africa. But the question then is how? While we are aware that the situation differs in different African countries due to our cultures and our tradition, it is important to note that women are a force to reckon with and to create a working concept that is adaptable to suit local conditions of each community. At this point, we know that there are obvious reasons why women are important in peace building, conflict resolution processes. For example, women constitute half of every community. They are the central caretakers of every family. All through history, women have always been advocates for peace, and they have been wonderful mediators. Not just that, women are selfless relief workers. But is that all our job? Is that all we do? We stay behind and we bind the wounded. We take care of the sick and we take care of the people that are hurt during conflict. Is that all women are there to do? There is a need to encourage and assist women in developing their role in reducing all types of violent conflicts and insurgency in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what this platform is for. My name, once again, is Lepasios Bose, and I will be moderating with these great people sitting with me. May I start with you, sir? Thank you, sir. I would like you to just say, what is your view on this topic?
Bosse, while you are getting his view, I just wanted to call your attention to the fact that you do have a participant online joining you. That's Dr. Bosse Awodola, the head of National Peace and Academy Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution. She is joining virtually and she's a member of the panel. So at some point you need to connect with her.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Bosse, you're welcome.
So we have two Dr. Bosses on the panel.
I'm her standing.
Thank you very much.
Again, can you introduce yourself and just...
Thank you very much. As I said, as it was said, I'm Silas Ngayabosha, and I serve as the Director General of Gender Equality Promotion and Women's Empowerment at the Ministry of Gender and Family Promotion in Rwanda. So, welcome to Rwanda once again.
And that's the reason why I'm starting with you, because we just noticed that almost everybody else on the platform is from Nigeria. Yeah, so we are your guests, and we like to understand and see this from the Rwandans' perspective.
Yes, thank you very much. Again, I was asked what's my view about this topic. women's participation in reducing the tide of violent conflicts and insurgency in Africa. We all know, and from even the previous video, that conflicts, women and children are the most affected by conflicts, by consequences of insurgencies. And if I share in the views of Rwanda, for instance, if they don't participate, if they don't have a take in the prevention, in the response to potential or existing violent conflicts or insurgencies, they will always be victims and victims. And this is the first step taken by our country. First of all, putting in place the legal and institutional framework that makes them participate. So maybe we will discuss more about that, but my view is that if women have to participate, that participation has to be a full participation from initiating or working on papers that govern the prevention and the response. And they don't have only to be there to initiate, but also be physical there. This is why you will see that a number is growing, like in Rwanda, in army, in police, and even in the peacekeeping missions that Rwanda is offering in different corners of this world at national, regional, and worldwide level. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Please put your hands together for him. Thank you. Now, I like particularly when I see women in authority, not just that, when I see women in charge, especially in the profession we all call the uniformed profession. Because most of the time, it takes a lot to fight to get to that stage where you are a person of authority as an officer. I have with me the Coordinator Defense Intelligence Agency Officers' Wife Association, DIAWO. I hope I got that well. DIOWA, okay. Mrs. Adesowa Itoha Adebayo. And I would like to have not just your views, because I have seen you since we've been here. I have seen you. I see the way you interact with your people. There's no madam kind of attitude. It's more like interactive with them. So I think you're more in the position to share not just how women can be effective in conflict resolution, but how women in power can also empower the women beneath them to rise to take control.
Thank you, Bose. As the coordinator, Defense Intelligence Officers' Wives Association, we as wives, military wives, mothers of these children, we are there to support our husbands. We are not only wives, we are homemakers, because we keep the home front while the men are out there fighting. And as we all know, insurgency starts from the home. So it's our duty as mothers, as wives, not only teach our children right, but ensure that they do the right thing by educating them most times on the challenges of wars, and to make them understand that it starts from the home. So while our husbands are out there in the battlefield, we keep the home front because we make these men. So most times when they even come home, most times they come home tired, frustrated. It's our duty as women to, in a subtle manner, calm them and make them understand that it's not about fighting most times, because our children, another thing we have in our communities is the peer pressure.
because your son is out there with other children. So you're not only teaching your children, you are teaching the children in the barracks. So we as mothers, we are mothers to not only our children in our houses, but every child in the barracks, we are responsible for them. So we have NGOs in the barracks, like we are an NGO. Our duty basically is to provide support, community support for our women and educate our children as much as possible to do right and think right.
Thank you so much. And yes, I was about to say, can we give her a louder round of applause? Because I like the authority in which she used in saying, we make this men. And until women begin to realize the power that we hold, we will keep shouting that we want a seat at the table. We already have a seat at the table. Because without us, these men would not even have a table to sit on. And that's what she's saying. Because when we give them that stability, then they can deliver. And then it makes it easier. Like you said, the home, the woman is in charge of the home. And so it starts with the husband, the children, and how you raise them. And then we're able to start teaching peace and making sure that we're able to resolve conflicts in not just the family, community, and the country as a whole. Thank you very much, ma'am. Now I want to go academic. I'll be nice to Prof because Rita needs to go and study PhD in Nasarawa. And if I say anything wrong now, he might just see her admission letter and tear it. And anybody that they just see African Women Conference and no, they are not going. So I'm going to be very nice and very polite and humbly, with all due respect, sir. Please, sir, while I am on my knees, sir, as a prospective PhD student in Nasarawa, so they can be calling me Prof too, either by association or by defection, I would like to welcome Professor Sulaiman Bala Mohammed, the Vice Chancellor, Nasarawa State University. Please note that professor is a professor. He has the right to stand up. He has the right to use a chalk, a blackboard, a pointer, a slide, whatever he feels like using. He's a lecturer. He's not going to be as brief as the other.
Thank you very much. Well, our very dear moderator, the conveners of this African Women's Conference, Dr. Jumai Amadou and Mrs. Ifi Ezinwa, organizers, delegates, conference participants, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me start with two quick preliminaries. One is to extend my profound appreciation to the conveners for extending their invitation to me and to providing me with this platform to share my thoughts on women's participation in reducing the tide of violent conflicts and insurgency in Africa. I'm not taking this for granted. I want to place on record my profound appreciation for this opportunity. Secondly, I want to commend you for the consistency that you have demonstrated in organizing this conference. I know that 2 years ago I was invited to Morocco, but I didn't have the opportunity. But the director of gender studies, Nasarawa State University, was in Morocco. And I want to say that this is a platform that really will provide opportunity for cross-fertilization of ideas, apart from exchange of experiences. I want to congratulate you, I want to commend you, and I want to urge you to continue the struggle. I also want to assure you that we're in this fight together. It is a fight for gender equality, for inclusiveness, and for development. It is never, ever a matter that is revolving around men or women. It is really about the development of a society. I imagine that if half of the society is marginalized, is exploited, is oppressed, is not inclusive in development, that society cannot be said to be developed by any standards. And therefore, the women question is simply about equality, about inclusiveness, and about the overall socioeconomic development of society. And to that extent, we're in this fight together. And I want to assure you that in National State University, KEFI, we note the input of really training and ensuring that we provide the academic and intellectual platform so that students can come and learn. And we have established an Institute of Gender Studies, which by my own assessment is really one of the best. That gender provides opportunity for research. It provides opportunity for studies. In fact, we run postgraduate programs, including postgraduate diploma, masters, and PhD. The whole idea is to train women leaders who understand the issues, who are academically and intellectually equipped to understand the issues and then lead in this struggle. I want to use this opportunity to invite our distinguished women leaders here, and of course those who are not here also, to come to National State University and take postgraduate program. And you will know what we're talking about. And I want to assure our moderator that there will be no problem. We will facilitate, we will give all the support, and we'll ensure that our students graduate as at when to. Now, this question is very, very important. And I want to also place my appreciation on the slide that was shown on violence against women. And in building on that, I want to start by saying that it is no longer news that Africa is ravaged by violent conflict and insurgency. I think this is well established. If you look at North Africa, politically related violence, either fighting authoritarianism or dealing with elections, has caused massive conflicts across that region, whether it is in Libya with the fall of Gaddafi and what has followed subsequently, or in Morocco with the struggle by the Sahrawi Democratic Arab Republic against Moroccan colonialism. There is massive violence going on there because that is the last colony in Africa. And people don't even tend to understand that there is a fight going on in Morocco with the Sahrawi Democratic Republic forces. And it's really a very serious war. There are also conflicts going around in Tunisia. If you go to West and Central Africa, that is where you find a lot of conflicts bordering on ethnicity, on religion. In South Africa, of course, the xenophobia attack. And of course, in the whole of West Africa, beginning from Nigeria, Mali, Chad, Niger, has been overtaken by Islamist extremist groups, Boko Haram, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and all their associates. And they have caused massive displacement. And so really this issue is key. And that is what we are confronted with. And in this kind of situation, like somebody said, the most affected are really women and children. Whether it is in terms of death, or it is in terms of injury, or it is in terms of loss of resources, or even in terms of the refugee crisis. In fact, you need to understand what is happening in the refugee camps. And you see the kind of deprivation and the violence that women and children suffer in those camps. And then, of course, the causes, because we can't confront and begin to define how women should participate if we don't really have good understanding of the entire gamut of this crisis. For me, this problem is driven largely by poverty, by unemployment. Poverty and unemployment have really accounted for this crisis because it creates a pool of youths who are sustainable to manipulation, or who can really be recruited to become thugs, to become hoodlums, and are ready to fight at a little price. The other issue has to do with illiteracy. We have seen how religion and ethnicity have been manipulated, have been politicized when bankrupt leaders politicize religion and create problem. It is not that we have any contradiction between our religious faiths. No, there's no contradiction. But rather, because of illiteracy, they simply manipulate people to go into that fight. And so illiteracy is a very serious problem. And of course, there is failing security system. The security system we have, including the military, of course, they are really operating with massive constraints in terms of condition of service, in terms of equipment to wage the war, in terms of motivation. And of course, there is also failure of leadership. In fact, leaders have not done enough to ensure that we are able to arrest this problem. And there are large ungoverned spaces. You talk about Sambisa Forest in Nigeria. You talk about Northwest, where there are large areas that are ungoverned. And the space is just there. And these insurgents simply go and take over that place, and it becomes a launching pad. And so if we are to define or talk about women's participation, I agree with our moderator 100%. I think we must go beyond this understanding that women's role is to assist conflict resolution, to ensure that there is peace building process, and to ensure that they take care of children and women who are caught up. Beyond all that, we have to really understand, for me, the major participation of women that can assist is in terms of advocacy. In fact, so many speakers yesterday talked about the need to amplify voices. I think we need to work on that. The slide we have shown really talked about the need for street protests and the need to ensure that we make the point, we amplify our voices, and we're heard. And to that extent, I think we need to do a lot of advocacy, even in terms of policy. Policy is very, very important. Policy that identifies the issues, that provides sanctions for violators, and then also to ensure that if those policies are in place, we're able to take them up and ensure that if there are people who are encouraging all this, to ensure that they really pay for what they are doing. Now, this advocacy is not just advocacy in terms of stop violence, stop conflict, or stop insurgency. No, it is also advocacy that go into addressing the root causes. It is advocacy that deal with the issues of poverty, deal with the issues of unemployment, deal with the issues of illiteracy, and hold leadership accountable. I think we need to do that. Because as long as we don't see this violence and insurgencies in their larger context, then we will simply continue to remain at the level of peace building and so on. But I think it is important that we also attract the drivers of this conflict. And to do so will really require, like the first speaker said, to ensure that there is adequate legislation and policy, which may not be the solution, but at least it is a starting point of the solution. So my first recommendation is that women will have to really move into the area of advocacy in terms of both policy as well as policy implementation, dealing not just with the conflict, but also with the underlying conflicts. For example, we have seen in Nigeria how conflict entrepreneurs have really gone to manipulate ethnicity, gone to manipulate religion, so much so that we not just have ethnic conflicts, religious conflicts, but we have ethno-religious conflicts. I think there is the need to move into that space, to ensure that we demystify the myths that they're creating around these issues, and then ensure that we give correct narrative so that we understand. Because the reality is that there is no contradiction between our religions, between our ethnicities. In fact, in all cases, we didn't even determine. And therefore, when people come to politicize it or manipulate it, we should have a counter narrative. The second area is that we must move into public enlightenment and education. Not just about policy, about the policy implementation, but also in terms of public enlightenment and education. At the root of most of the crisis is clearly the question of illiteracy. In fact, across the continent, there are a large chunk of illiterate young persons who are susceptible to manipulation. In fact, you can't tell an educated young boy or girl to go and fight in the name of ethnicity or religion, because that person would have seen beyond the smoke screen. But an illiterate person, you place the smoke screen before the person and simply goes to fight because he's fighting in the name of his ethnicity or religion. And so it is important that we mount public enlightenment and also provide education to ensure that we appreciate that these conflicts are just serving some sectional interests and they are retarding our development. The third area for me is in terms of collaborating with not just government, but also NGOs, so that the point which has been made since yesterday about the need to see that we make a difference, about the question about what have we done as individuals, about the issue of in a community, how many persons have I been able to influence and change their lives? I think it is important we come out heavily in this area, collaborate with NGOs, collaborate with individuals, and ensure that we have really something that we can work on, we can point at. The other area for me is in the area of holding leaders accountable. This is one area that we have not been doing much. It is important that we hold our leaders accountable on what most of them have publicly declared, on what they ought to do and they are not doing, on what is harmful to us as a people. And we can really come out and influence. There are representations that we have at legislative bodies that we can work with them to ensure that we get our job done. And so it is important that we actually do that and ensure that the lobby goes on so that we achieve what we want. And the other point is about education and training, which of course, one of the speakers alluded to that even at homes, we're in charge of the socialization and training of the children. It is very, very important that we take special interest in terms of the kind of peer groups that they associate with, the kind of education that they have. We always try to find out what they think about situations, about happenings in the country, so that where there are misconceptions, where there are wrong notions that they have started imbibing, we should be able to correct even at that level. Because most of these really grow. It's not something that comes of sudden. You don't just go and recruit somebody and say, come and let's fight. But you start with some level of training, with some level of indoctrination. And so I think we have a role in trying to counter those kind of teachings, so that at the end of the day, we're able to produce children and leaders of tomorrow that we want, not the ones that we can allow them to be manipulated. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I think in addition to the conventional areas that we have been talking, I think women can also participate in these areas so that gradually we will be able to address or reduce significantly these issues of violent conflict and insurgency. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you very, very much. You did justice to the topic. And when we started, I wanted an icebreaker from each speaker for just something to say for us to have a feel of them before they do their presentation. So when the prof got up and he went there, Mrs. Ito was like, I've not done my presentation yet. And I said, yes, ma'am, I saw your speech with you and I know that you have your presentation with you. But then prof, he's a prof. He just has to stand up and do it the way profs do. And thank you very much, sir, for really, really nailing and marshalling the points that are important and that are viable for us right now. And one of the things that you said that really touched me is that we are really not as different as we think, religion wise, even ethnics. I remember when we were in Namibia and Mama P and Mama G was talking about how they were treating widows. And she was saying it passionately as an Igbo woman. And she was saying, in my culture, and almost everybody sitting down from all over Africa kept saying, they do it to us too. They do it to us too. And suddenly you realize that it is not just a particular people that go, it's everywhere. The issues are the same. It's just the different ways in which, like the prof said, our leaders have learned to use our differences, manipulate it to use it against us. And until we begin to do as he has said, advocate, train and retrain and teach and eradicate illiteracy, then people would not have any other choice but to keep falling into the wrong hands and to keep following this wrong information. Once again, this African Women Conference is always a good platform where we are able to continually tell people what we need to do as women to help ourselves. Thank you very much, Professor.
Now, looking at mainstreaming gender, we call for female participation, not just participation, but representation, because a lot of time we look at that, yes, we want to have women to be part of the activities that we are doing. Yes, they want women to be there, but are they represented? Are they participating? So the Nigerian Army has a women corps where we train women further on operationalizing their duty. I work in operations, and we look at that. Operational plans are gender sensitive in the sense that the men are gender sensitive towards the operations that are being carried out, towards the female in the field, towards the elderly, the disabled. Everybody is being carried along. So we try to teach gender, operationalizing it in our operations. And in that, we do a sensitization around the Nigerian Army. We are going to different states and looking at women are carried along and encouraging the women. If we look at our society, most of the time when the female child is outside, you're like calling the female child to come in and support you. So you don't expect her that when she's 18 and she has joined the Nigerian Army, she will be on the same level with her male counterparts. It's not like they are not capable. They are capable. And when you look at, like, for those that are in Nigeria, you can see that we have females deployed, the defense deployed females in the Abuja-Kaduna road, where operations are taking up now. And you have purely female personnel there. And they are carrying out a lot of duties there. So in the field, in operationalizing gender, we try to get that information are gotten from both male and female. Due to our culture, most of the time, you see that, especially in the north, where the insurgency is going on now, you have that women can't really, they find it difficult to talk to men. And most of our troops that are deployed are men. So in such a situation, we try to educate our men on how to relate with the women, on how to get information that can support operations from the women. And if we get a situation where the women find it difficult to talk to the men, because majority of the people in the society that you can get information from most of the places that insurgency is going on, you have women and children and the disabled. The elderly are there. So we use interpreters, female interpreters, when we have challenges of women that cannot talk to the men. So the interpreters are used, and so that we don't have the female sidelined in operations. Additionally, we take cognizance of the importance of female, because most of the places of insurgency, you see that the men volunteer to join the war. The men go on the war on their own, but the women are left behind to take care of the family because of our culture mostly. The tradition of our people is very important. And because of that, we have the women that are left behind. So in our duty to protect these women, because they are there and they are now head of the family. So it is our duty to see that they have a secured and safe place that they can be. So in protecting them, we have to take cognizance. And we have, the Nigerian Army has a zero tolerance to sexual exploitation and abuse. It's a policy that we have. And the Nigerian Armed Forces now have a gender policy that they are using to look at that. It's not just women we're talking about now, so that the men will not feel that they are sidelined. So they have the policy that takes care of some gaps that concerns the men. So in bringing everybody together, the armed forces looks at the gender policy and the concern of women and children out there in the society. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And what I love about the things that you said is you are not saying you're not talking in abstract words. You are talking about things that you are doing right now. That means that there's a system already in place. And for, like you said, in the north, where insurgency is really high right now, there's a system already in place. All we need to do is, like the prof said, amplify our voices and make sure that it is more established, and it is more, like we say in law, not just that you are saying it, but we are actually seeing that you are doing it. Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for her one more time. I would just say our Rwandan representative. So can I come back to you, sir? Yes, sir. Ma'am.
Thank you again. I was also worried that I misused the time that was allocated to me. Thank you. To come back to this topic, I think we all know that Rwanda has been victim of the highest level, the highest atrocity a conflict can bring to people. Rwanda has, we have a genocide against the Tutsi. I think we all know. And out of that, there has been some lesson learned. And lucky enough that under the leadership of His Excellency Paul Kagame, a he for she president, the country resolved to make gender equality a cross-cutting issue, a cross-cutting theme in what we do, but also how we do it.
It's your turn, but because your mic is
So
muted,
what I will share, we focus on those three things. So putting in place papers, I think Professor also highlighted about
is the mic unmuted now? It's unmuted. Okay, what's your mute now? So they'll bring you back up.
And also people, do people have capacities? Do people
Hello. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Okay, ma'am.
supportive or favorable social norms?
Okay.
So, and then processes focusing on how we do our daily business. And on laws and policies, I think I cannot mention all of them because each country has got laws, but we focused after adoption of the UN resolution, Council Resolution 1325, the country resolved to domesticate it, domesticating that resolution. And domesticating how? We did an action plan, a national action plan, a 3-year country specific national action plan from 29 to 2011 to 2012. And then after its implementation, we did like an evaluation, a participatory evaluation involving different key stakeholders. And then we did the second generation of national action plan of the implementation of the UN Council Resolution 1325. And it will end in 2022. And it has focused on these pillars. First of all, participation. Secondly, prevention. Thirdly, protection. And finally, relief and recovery. For the participation, in addition to the Constitution, you know, our Constitution clearly highlights that at least 30% of not only in decision-making bodies, no, even at the smallest area, we call it a village. If you are electing, if you are thinking about something, think about at least 30%. And that is monitored. So it's not something you can do as a favor or whatever. It is a must. And in addition to the Constitution, some additional laws has been also enacted so that the domestication of the 1325 UN Council resolution can be implemented. For the second pillar, the prevention of violence against women, the government of Rwanda has been and also remains determined to fight against violence, gender-based violence in all its forms. For instance, a new policy recently, we had a gender policy and GBV policy. We had two of them from 2010, but the gender policy has been reviewed and adopted recently in February this year. And it highlighted, among other pillars, maybe I would share the involvement of men, not men as a way of reinforcing patriarchy, but men as allies and supporters, partners with women in promoting gender equality. I think, I remember when I was in one of the countries in West Africa, a brave man, after a training of 5 days, said, I have discovered that I cannot pretend to be peaceful if someone else is not. I think the best way of maintaining a peaceful society is to make sure that everyone enjoys his or her rights. So engaging men is one of the 8 pillars. Working with men and boys, but also on manhood. On manhood, why? On transforming masculinities. You know the way our societies, our different societies define what it means to be a man. I think you agree with me that this is the root causes of inequalities and the gender-based violence. Rwandan women have played a key role in promoting peace, unity, and reconciliation through the reconstruction and recovery process. For instance, we have also community mediators. Community mediators, and if you are saying community mediators, you mean if there are 3 per village, the 30%, the at least 30% applies. At least one has to be a woman, but in some cases you will find even 2 women and 1 man. So depending on their capacities. And there is also what we have at every district, the access to justice bureaus, access to those are professional lawyers available at every district and ready to support vulnerable people, and more specifically cases related to violence against women and children. And for the 3rd pillar, I will go first. For the 3rd pillar of protection of women from violence, in addition to CEDAW and SDGs, so we are signatory to all of them, but also in addition to the Constitution, again, a law has been also established determining offenses and penalties in general and provide punishment of gender-based violence and protect the rights of all, including women and girls, addressed and addresses GBV in all its forms. There has been also another law in tackling the root causes, the matrimonial, a law governing matrimonial regimes, donations and successions, and equally provide for gender equality in property and inheritance rights between men and women, boys and girls. Even for the land title here, if you are legally married, it's 50-50, and it is clear on the land title papers. And women can have even the rights to use it for bank loans and whatever. So both wives and husbands. It's really clear. So there has been another law governing land, yes, in Rwanda that sets equal land right between men and women, boys and girls. So this is maybe what I was saying. Those are like tackling the root causes of, because the conflicts may reach the whole nation, but starting from the household. Yes. Again, we have what we call Isange One-Stop Center. When we say Isange, it's like feel at home. Say this is about response, and this started in the police hospital, but it has been finally adopted by all 44 hospitals across the country. When I say 44 hospitals across the country, bear in mind that Rwanda is small, is only 26,338 kilometers square. So it's a small country, and 44 hospitals across the country. Yes, it's not that closer to the whole population, but it is accessible, at least because we have good roads and you can easily reach a hospital. But again, although these services, this holistic, Isange One-Stop Center provides holistic services to victims. Victims, we mean holistic, I think you can understand. But also we have temporary shelters that were set up in 4 districts to accommodate some victims who may need length protection from suffering further violence or continuous services and follow-up over a longer period of time. We have a forensic laboratory that can also avail DNA test results to accelerate. So to end, because I'm taking much time, for the pillar of access to means of relief, economic recovery, and rehabilitation. So we are also offering like services near refugee camps. We have refugees from the Democratic Republic of Congo and Burundi. So those services have been availed, and the gender mainstreaming is done into the mandate of every institution, and it is becoming now a must. There is the ministry supporting institutions, other sectors and the district to mainstream gender in their planning and budgeting, but also there is the gender monitoring office that is not working under the ministry, that is under the Prime Minister's office to monitor whether the gender mainstreaming is being implemented. And there is the Forum for Women Members of Parliament that is watching whether the laws, every law that is passing is gender sensitive. And then the National Women Council that is guaranteeing the mobilization of women and their capacity strengthening for participation. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, fantastic. Please, can you put your hands together for not just the representative, but for the government of Rwanda? Because this is amazing, is amazing. And the only thing I can just take away from everything that he has said is, until we have leaders that have the vision, we cannot drive anything, because when they see where they are taking us to, then they can guide us. And then he said it in every community. They are not doing states. They are starting from the grassroots. And he said something with so much confidence that made me smile as a Nigerian. He said, we have 44 hospitals, although they are not many, but we have good roads, and so we can get there quickly. If you're Nigerian, you know what I mean. So I'm rounding up with the woman in the house, a powerful woman. I have been told that if your husband is a major in the army, then you, the wife, you are the major general. The wife is always a step. Is that right? The wife is always a step ahead of her husband. That's why all my friends, when I was in university, wanted to marry army officers, because they said they will be respecting them anywhere they go to. So we have not just military wife, we also have the coordinator of Defense Intelligence Agency Officers Wife Association, Mrs. Ituha Adebayo, for her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bosse. It is my sincere privilege and honor to be standing before you today on this very auspicious occasion, and please permit me to stand on the existing protocol. The African Women's Conference have had numerous successes in fostering the cause of the African woman globally, and have also bridged the gap in the area of bringing the African woman to the 21st century by the provision of relevant information and empowerment programs, which have in no small measure advanced the cause of many women, especially in the field of politics, business, and education, just to mention a few. Today, I would like to talk on the topic, women's participation in reducing the tide of violence, conflict, and insurgency in Africa. Sadly, as we all know, Africa today is afflicted with multiple security challenges, which have taken a very disturbing turn in recent times and have consequently crippled the economy of nations while others continue to struggle just to remain afloat. Including women in the conflict prevention, resolution, and management is a no-brainer. However, not all of us can be involved in the peacemaking process in the government, but in our own little way, as mothers, wives, we can contribute by educating our children, especially our boys. We can educate them to think right and do right. We can also educate our children on the challenges that comes with conflict. Conflict often forces women to organize themselves to safeguard basic necessities and to carry out activities related to, for example, education and healthcare. These activities have a role to play in ensuring lasting peace. Surprisingly, the motherly influence of women can be used as a means or a tool in disarming those insurgents. It is the women and children who are particularly affected on the long run. Sexual assault and exploitation are frequently employed as tools of conflicts. Hunger, trafficking, and victimization, leading to isolation, prolonged emotional trauma, and unwanted pregnancy that often results in abandoned children. As culturally designed caregivers, women must struggle to support their families and keep their households together while the traditional breadwinners, our husbands and sons, are caught up in the fighting and are unable to provide for their families. The new role as primary providers expose many women to further abuse. This conflict shatters the comfort of predictable daily routines and expectations. Women and girls are usually affected in fragile environments where social services they once depended on are degraded or disappears. Its effects are numerous, but will be narrowed down to just how it affects us, which includes psychological effects. The psychological trauma we go through in conflict situations can never be overemphasized. We face the tragedy of losing our loved ones, most often male relatives, through death, disappearance, or even immigration. While the consequences of sexual violence are physically, emotionally, and psychologically traumatic to the women victims, those who are able to survive such violations have the burden of silently coping with this post-traumatic stress, almost without any form of support. Let me talk about the health and physical effects. In an armed conflict, both women and men get injured as direct consequences of widespread violence. However, women's health often face further burdens. The lack of privacy and space in the relief camps have compounded the impact of it and other reproductive health problems for women. Mind you, many of these families are resettled in this camp for many years. These camps have little or no access to food, safe drinking water, or medicals. The irony is that in such camps, it is the women who have to sustain their families by ensuring the availability of food and clothing. Finding also revealed that there's a sharp rise in infections like AIDS in these our camps. Evidence has suggested that women are more open to infection than men. Sometimes these women are forced by conflict conditions to trade sex for food, money, and shelter, and other necessities of life. As an organization, we have roles to play. There have been rapid increase in various types of women organizations in the barracks. These women organizations are not only playing an essential role in the empowerment of women, we are also engaging our youth positively. And as we know, insurgency is traced to the home front. Because we make the men, what my association is doing is shaping the thinking of children and providing community support for women in and around the barracks. As a woman, a mother, and a military wife, We should know that we are the brain front of our families. Our husbands and sons are in the battlefield. To this regard, we should all at all times put in our quota in every way possible, and for us to raise our voices to one, proud to the conflicts during and after, because our opinion matters. Thank you.
Can we put our hands together for Mrs. Adebayo, please? From the major to the prof to our Rwandan brother and Mrs. Adebayo, one thing has been repeated over and over again, and that is the importance of education. Education, education, education. The people that are informed cannot be manipulated, and a person that is not manipulated cannot be used as a tool for destruction. So, from Mrs. Adebayo's point of view, as mothers, we start from training them at home and teaching them and educating them so that even when they get out there, they cannot easily be influenced. And we really do appreciate your presentation. Thank you very much, ma'am. I know you can see that all my panelists are very academic, very, very detailed. So at this point, I would just like to take a few questions because I know that there's no question safe. They've done justice. The questions are not going to be many, and they will just answer the questions and we'll be able to move ahead. I would like to start respectfully with my very, very amazing Auntie Binta. Can somebody give her a microphone? While Auntie Binta is getting a microphone, please let me see your hand up now so that I give the numbers now and nobody will join them again. Can you stand up, please? Can you stand up? Yes, so that I don't want people that will now think of their question when somebody else is talking. So we have Auntie Binta number 1. We have the lady in green number 2. Then we have the gentleman at the back, sir, as number 3, so that we don't have women. Then we have the lady in glasses as number 4, and then we'll have the last person. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I think mine is a little contribution. And I'm glad that the area I wanted to talk on basically that has to do with the military and the security aspect of our country. Well, when I was in the Senate, my senatorial district was under attack by the Boko Haram. So I was a victim of that. And till today, we have some military personnel within that area. That is Adamawa Senatorial District. Talked about Mubi, Maiha, Minchika, Madagali, and surrounded by the southern Borno where the chunk of the crisis is. But there's a particular issue I have been confronted with some of the military wives in court. And I just want to draw their attention to see how they can leverage on that and bring second to those. Unfortunately, most of the men have other wives outside before and after. No, it's not something to laugh at. Because like I said, a lady that was with me was divorced by her husband. She has a child. Unfortunately, he was killed during the crisis. But being who becomes the, what do you call it? The next of kin. Obviously is the woman in the house. Without recourse to the child outside. So how do you being the gender, and again, I'm happy that my sister here is here. How do you now factor in those children outside? Because whether you like it or not, they are victims. So if the woman in the house does not have recourse to know that he has another child outside, then that child becomes a problem to the society if not properly taken care of. I think those are things, especially your office or your desk ought to look into. Yes, the next of kin might be the wife in the house, which obviously she is being protected with the children, but he has other children outside who are not protected. So I don't know how you're going to work on that, maybe on your policies, just like what the Rwanda DG made mention of some certain policies that are working on too. Yeah, a lot of things you've discussed here, a woman having the right to have a property or whatever, it is not a problem in Nigeria. But the issue of Article 1325, which I wish some of our parliamentarians are here. Again, we can work again because the minister representative is here. How I wish you could hear on the gender, the national policies on women. How we can now see the 30% or 35%, which Nigeria is a signatory to, but has not been totally taken into cognizance into the constitution, because you have to domesticate it for it to become a law. But if we can start politically, I think the only governor that started it, now he's in the Senate, was that of Borno State, where he said out of 10 councillors, one must be a woman. So it is a political drive. But since the Minister of Women Affairs is here, they can deliberately, in the national policy on gender, try to see how women can have that 35% underneath, not until when it comes to the parliamentary aspect of it. But the one that is painful is the weak children, not of their own accord, being deprived. And those are the kind of kids that can be a problem tomorrow in the society. So I think the military has to look internally to see how they can accommodate these children that are being deprived when their father is no more, at least. And I want to appreciate the Nigerian Army or the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for putting your life online for our sovereignty and for our unity and for our peace. And I want to say thank you most sincerely. And may those that have gone fighting our cause, may their soul rest in perfect peace.
Amen. Thank you so much, Auntie Binta. And I think I'm the only one that keeps calling that Auntie Binta when I'm holding microphone. Everybody else calls her Senator Binta. Yes, Auntie. That's why I do it arrogantly.
I love you.
I too much.
I love you.
Too much.
Just as I'm your auntie.
But really, Auntie Rekia, there's something Auntie Binta said that I love, and I would like to say it because the Minister of Women Affairs is being represented here. Auntie Binta, that thing you said about the children of the army officers, it's more potent because they died in the line of duty. But then it's everywhere, in civil service, everywhere. The children outside, due to no fault of their own, end up being the tools that the manipulators use to activate violence and conflict at the end of the day. Because now there's no father figure to look up to, and the system has failed them and not trained them. So they are already angry and they are bitter. And all they need is the wrong information to tilt them in the other direction. So the Ministry of Women Affairs can help us really by taking this in collaboration with the Army and all the other platforms, and taking this to the right places for the policies to protect children that are born by the outside woman or by the other woman or whatever name we want to call them, but the woman that is not the next of kin technically when the man is gone. That is very important. Thank you so much, Auntie Binta. Can we have the next? Please, can we make it quick because my time is, I have done overdue right now.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Blessing Gupe from Nigeria.
Thank you.
Looking at the topic, reducing the tide of violence conflict, I want to align with the prof and also to add that drug abuse is one of the causes of violent crimes, because none of the conflicts are unrelated with drug abuse. I think we can take our advocacies to, especially in support of NDLEA in their fight against drug abuse, and we can also advocate that the rehabilitatory facilities are properly, they are carried out in in line with what they are established for, because most people relapse after the process. We also, as women, have to form a support system for these people who are involved in drug abuse, because I noticed that some of them don't have support. That is why they still go back to it. I think if we take our advocacy against drug abuse, it will go a long way in reducing the tide of conflict in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
That's a beautiful contribution. Thank you very much, ma'am. And I think that's why Auntie Rekia was saying that we should allow people to really speak rather than write, because somehow when people speak, it's more impactful and you really get the message. Thank you, ma. Can we have you, sir? Can someone please help me give him the mic?
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to start by saying women generally are life. They add life to everything, from the home to the society to governance. We were discussing on the table this morning, and we see Kigali as being very peaceful. And our point of view is that women are allowed to participate effectively in governance. And when women participate in governance, I believe so many things are injected into that system, especially peace. Now, viewing it from that perspective, I want to talk to AWC to encourage women in politics. And I want to start by saying, from my own personal view, that women are enemies of women when it comes to politics.
We don't argue.
Yeah. I'm saying this because when women signal that they want to participate in governance, it is the same women that will be campaigning against their counterpart. That is very germane and must be effectively addressed.
I'd like to give you 2 microphones right now, sir.
I think we are at the level of ensuring that women are encouraged to participate in governance, particularly. And I want to applaud Rwanda for that policy. If women are adamant.
Sir, can you please make it a bit faster?
Yeah,
I'm running against time.
Yes, if women are adamant that they will not support women, then quotas should be given for women in governance, so that they will know that, like it or not, women are occupying, probably they make it as a law. It's not that by just saying that affirmative thing. But when it is law, as it is being, I think it is, that's past second reading in the National Assembly in Nigeria now, that a particular percentage should be made available for women in governance. So what I'm saying in essence is, women should be allowed and the percentage should be given to them in governance. And when you want to approach a man and the man keeps saying no, go to the wife. They have as a strategy and even group. And our women, the first ladies, they should see it as point of duty to always talk to their husbands that are in government. When you talk to them effectively, I know when they have wrong ideas on issues, those ideas will be corrected.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I have to move along now. But I really like what you just said. We should talk to them in private, in the places where the policies are really made. And then they will implement it. Thank you very much. The first ladies are all here, and those that are not here, the messages will be passed across to them. But I really do agree with him on that point. Please put your hands together for him, please. The lady, yes. I think that's the last person. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
I think we've forgetting something.
Okay.
Yeah. The love, the violence against between a woman and
Can you speak up a bit?
the violence between gender, a woman, same gender, we are violent against each other. When you look into the homes, you see that the mother-in-law is there, auntie-in-law is there, other
The stepdaughter is there.
whatever is there, and it's making life hard for the woman in the house. And we should even here. We should love each other. We are not here to show that I'm somebody. No, we're all the same. We're here to fight for the women. So we should love each other and help each other progress. That is what we're supposed to do here. And then I remember I'm talking to the guy of the army. I was once privileged, because I say privileged because I accompanied somebody to Naowa, military wives, during Mariam Babangida's time. And what she teaches at that time, what she taught them at that time was how to maintain the home, calm the husband, make sure everything is well, and the role they can play to make the women, she has these foundations and everything for the woman. So she has the woman in her heart. So this has been going on for a long time. The women in the army know about that. She tells them how to take care of the children and the home and try to make things okay. And then about what he said, I'm happy he said that, because I'm not happy, I'm sorry. One of us said that some youths went to visit the minister and she felt that, no, they should not. I feel that these youths will go back home and we don't know what they will do. She should have given them a forum to discuss with her, and if it is important for them to the minister, that is what she should have done, not send them back. For making the effort, it's difficult to see ministers. She should have given them the platform or anything to talk to her and discuss their issues. They may be important. Youths have important things to tell us. We should listen to them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Prof. The last person. Yes. But I know what she said and I understand, but if I allow this particular one, we will drag it. So let's just move on.
I'm Rosemary from Nigeria.
Yes, please.
I want to appreciate the speakers, especially the Rwandan representative, because they have a lot of laws that have been enacted to support women. But I want to go back to Dr. Eleno, because when we're talking about the gender-based violence that she has beautifully put forward, we should look at it in the context of SDGs. Because if you look at it from that perspective, it will help us in ensuring that this treaty is easily, gotten from the various governments that are involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I would, yes, it would be injustice not to have you say something about that. One person was so upset there, but I'm just going to give you 1 minute so that I'm not upsetting you. I noticed the way you're shaking your head like, ma'am, please give her the mic. 1 minute, please. Please, 1 minute. 1 minute. Thank you.
Very much. The panelists have done a wonderful job. They have really discussed and we have learned a lot. But what I want to say is the role of traditional rulers and religious leaders is very, very key in getting to the root of conflicts in our societies and getting their wives involved in mediation is very, very important. Because I belong to a group, it's the United Nations Agency for Women, Peace and Security in West Africa and the Sahel. And UN is really talking about getting the women in the palaces involved in mediation, because this conflict starts from the grassroots. Just like it was mentioned by the professor, poverty, illiteracy, unemployment. You know, there are serious issues. And the issue of ethnic and religion. You know, there are a lot of misconceptions that are really brewing conflict. If you look at Nigeria, we are peaceful people, but just like the narrative is changing, and we are becoming very volatile and impatient. And our traditional rulers in the communities, they own everybody. They own both the religion, the ethnic, everybody, even the people that don't have religion. So we have to give them a serious role. And their wives, as you see them, just like my sister spoke, I was having breakfast, and a solution was given to me by one of the traditional rulers on polygamy. You know, it's an issue too.
Yes.
We don't accept each other. We don't accept each other.
Yes.
So these things are very key. I'm sorry, I'm not upset. When I came in, I was asked to prepare that I'm going to say something.
Okay.
I'm a student of conflict.
Oh.
I'm a policy analysis.
No.
Policy analyst. Just like the prof said, we need to get women on board making policies.
Yes.
And even the implementations, we should be at the round table.
Yes.
We cannot continue coming to talk side by side, women, 35%. We have to be at both the decision making and the implementation.
Yes.
And that's the only way we can make a difference.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I totally agree. I totally agree with you. Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much. Wonderful contribution. Dr. Jumai, this is where I think that this is very important for next conference. Maybe there will be letters to churches and mosques and palaces for them to send their wives and their oloris and all of them to the conference, so that they yes, I know you used to do that, so that just like we have first ladies here, they will have representatives there and they will take the message back home. Oh yes, because I remember you always have them.
Yes, let me.
I remember you always have them.
Thank you very much. In order to just appreciate what you said, in FCTA, the traditional rulers' wives were sent to be part of this conference.
Yes.
And beyond that, they have an association now, because these problems we are facing is from the grassroots at this community level. So the FCT administration, I thought it wise to see how we can empower our traditional rulers' wives to be the gatekeepers at that level, to bring these women on board, to know the issues that are affecting them. There's a particular chiefdom that the woman is doing so much, but a lot of sexual abuses, like it was mentioned here. A man raped his 12-year-old girl, and he has subdued the wife and the girl, not to see anything. The girl now wrote a letter to her teacher in school that reported the case before this woman was able to come out, and the chief of Garki is the person actually following up that case. Now, so many other cases like that in Abuja. So we just, as part of our resolution, like you mentioned, see how we can take it beyond
More
Abuja,
states,
so that other state can emulate what is happening.
Yes.
Thank you
so much, Dr. Jumai. Ma, I would like you to do that as I'm leaving the stage, so that they don't count this as part of my time. They're already eyeing me. And but it's only normal and it's only right for me to start with the prof. 30 seconds, please, sir. Just say your final word, because prof has already asked me, will he say his final word? Please say your final word, prof. We don't have time for you people to be arguing on who we start.
The desk officer, the focal person on the civil military desk, Lieutenant Fatima, please stand up for recognition. So on cases of maybe having children out there, if they are reported and investigation are being carried out, we have somebody from the Department of Administration too that handles such welfare. Lieutenant Wogo, please stand up. So we chose our crowd according to the departments that are really important to handle cases in the society. And we have the civil military relations that still do discern between the military and our other populace out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I just want to make 2 points based on the discussion. The first one is to link up with my colleague from Rwanda and to say that what he has explained to us clearly shows the importance of leadership in the transformation of society. And I think what has happened in Rwanda is simply that they have gotten a leader who is clear-headed, has the vision, and mobilizes the community to do that. Unfortunately, that is what we are lacking in most African countries. In fact, unfortunately, those in leadership position are those who are aggravating the crisis. You know, for example, if you take the issue of religious conflict, ethnic conflict, it is largely manipulation. People are just manipulated into that fight. Like I keep saying, there is no difference between us in terms of religion and ethnicity. In fact, nobody decides whether to become this ethnic or that ethnic. You know, and so again, it is striving because of illiteracy. And that is why education is very important. Education is very important because an educated person will see beyond the smoke screen. Yeah, because it's simply a smoke screen that they put. And if you don't have the knowledge, you can't see beyond that. The second issue I want to raise is actually to say that the women question is simply rooted in culture and tradition, including religion. And that it is also important that women activists should understand how culture and tradition, including religion, have contributed to the subordination of women in society. Once we don't have that fundamental understanding, we'll begin to move on irrelevancies, and then we'll not be able to understand what really the issue is. When people are talking about women opposing women in politics, I simply laugh. They simply do not take into account the kind of political system that we have in place. And because of that, even what is even major is money. It's money, it's money. And so it is the women question is rooted in tradition and culture. And unfortunately, even women themselves, a lot of them have not gone beyond that. That is why even at the level of the household, if you watch through what happens in a lot of the families, you laugh. You see this stereotyping of gender division of labor takes place, even at that level. A mother is telling her son that he shouldn't play it that way because he's a boy. And so right from onset, a girl child is expected to do a cooking play, not the boy. So even the women don't even appreciate that. That is something that culture has imposed on us, and it is better we understand that so that we can move along. My final word is that it is all about education. We need to understand so that we can move from appearance and understand the reality. The moment we don't move from appearance, we can't understand the reality. The moment we don't understand the reality, we can smash this highly organized system of oppression and domination that is in place. Thank you very much.
It's as if Prof has been sitting with me and Kate Enshaw from the beginning of this program, because he said everything we were discussing, from even the boy-girl relationship and all that, since yesterday. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
The Rwandan
Thank you very
DG.
much. Just something. Women have to be on board. Just to try it. I think Rwanda also did it as a try and fail approach. But try it, bring them, let them, not bring, let them be on board. You will see how much their potentials will contribute to the development of your respective societies. Secondly, use gender transformative approaches and models for sustainability. Whatever your intervention is, do not only target numbers. Go beyond the numbers, transform power relations, transform decision-making capacities. Thirdly, use socio-ecological models. Work on different levels, policies, institutions, communities, societies, relations, defining what relations are, and then individual people. And lastly, men should be part of the solution, not always
the problem.
enemies, a problem. They should be part of the solution. I heard my brother there. He's supportive. How is he brought on board to engage other men so that we can have more men? But it's not only men, but what it means to be a man. I'm coming back to the intervention of measures. Raising children, what do you tell them? How do you construct, how is your socialization in your respective community is about being a man? Because for sustainability, we have to transform what it means to be a man, because our boys, our men are also victims of these inequalities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Your final words, Mrs. Adebayo.
Thank you,
Thank
Bosse.
you.
As military wives, we multitask. Apart from teaching our children right, we also reach out to the widows of our fallen heroes. We give them a shoulder to lean on. We empower them. And as you know, we have skills acquisition facilities in the barracks where we train these women on trade and we empower them. And we also reach out to the wounded soldiers by forms of incentives. So we are there for the children. Most of the kids of these fallen heroes are even on scholarship by the military wives, the NGOs in the barracks. They go to our schools. And the good thing, we have schools in the barracks. We all know of the command secondary schools. We have primary. We have nursery schools. So we are there for these children. We are there for the widows.
Thank you so much. What a fantastic panel.
Thank you, Bosse.
Have they collected your microphone, Ma? Yes. Would you like to give your final word on this? Because I know that it's you really need to say something about that.
Can I do an injection of one speaker? Her Excellency, Mrs. Betsy Obaseki, the governor, wife of the governor of Edo State. You know, she's sitting down there and she's hearing the conversation and she says, look, I've got something I need to say before this panel ends. So please give her a round of applause for just, you know, and this is the thing I admire about women who are leaders, you know, when you see the situation and you want to step in, even if. Thank you very much, ma'am. So please, after you, she's going to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. I've heard all the contributions and all the advice. I'll take it back to the Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, who has the listening ear. I think for her, coming from the grassroots, she has internalized most of these issues, and she understands the pains of the average woman in the society. And I can tell you authoritatively that since her coming into office, the civil-military relations have improved better than it was before. We have, on the UN Security Council Resolution 1325, talking about participation of women in conflict resolution. You know, we've done very well with that. And we're not just standing there, because we do realize that beyond just the women in the military, we also need to have the wives of the officers who are there, you know, providing succor and support. We need to also bring them out of the barracks to feel the pulse of the nation. And that we are doing very well. And that's why we've extended our invitations to them to come and hear what the society is talking about. Before now, I'm sure Mrs. Adebayo will not have been here, including the wives of the very senior officers, including my sister, Major Janet, who is sitting here. And you know, one defining moment for us as a country is the opening up of the Nigerian Defense Academy, an academy that has existed since 1964. And for the first time in the year 2011, the doors were shattered. And the girls who are there as combatants are doing very well. The recent graduation of the 68 regular course, it was a girl who shattered all the ceilings there. She took all the 5 medals that were presented. And so what are we talking about? The woman has it if she's given the right opportunity. Talking about the 35% affirmative action, we've gone back to the drawing board. We've listened, we've heard everything that's going on around to say that beyond just a policy, we need to make this a law in the country. And we are redefining the gender policy right now. All stakeholders are reviewing it so that by the time it gets to the Federal Executive Council, we'll still take it back to the National Assembly before it is formally made into a law and all the consultations finally ended. I know we may have that challenge, but I do know that the minister has a goodwill with all segments of society. And in terms of gender-based violence, like I announced yesterday, Nigeria is on the front burner and has been very proactive. If you recall, at the peak of lockdown measures in 2020 during the COVID-19 pandemic, which we now term for us in Nigeria as a pandemic within a pandemic, you know that the government was very, very, very instrumental in putting together an environment that tolerates zero tolerance to gender-based violence. Because of the memo the Honorable Minister sent to Council and had an engagement with the governors of the 36 states, and immediately, unanimously, they declared emergency against gender-based violence. And the wives, I'm happy to say that Her Excellency, the Edo State First Lady is here, and she will talk about the role of the women, because they are engaging with us on all fronts, because, you know, most of these issues are at the rural levels, and they are the foot soldiers. When they speak, the society listens. Nigeria is a big country, I must say. 200 million people. 200 million people. It's not that we don't have laws, but implementation has been the biggest bane. Every time when the women say, oh, we want a law, yes, it goes on. But one interesting thing I read this morning when I was communicating with my colleagues back home is that some state governors are doing very well. For instance, Kwara State Governor.
Thank you.
Listen, just hear me out. I couldn't have flown all the way here, and I'm giving you an information that will help you in your advocacy, and you tell me to step down. Kwara State Governor, beyond just what they're doing now, has already taken the 35% affirmative action law, because they have exceeded 35%. They are now doing over 50%, and they've taken it to the state executive, to the state assembly to pass it into law. These are best practices that we need to also showcase as a country. Edo State Governor, they are on 50% at this time. And so we need to celebrate. It's not Uhuru yet. We will get there with the he for she advocacy campaign that Nigeria is actually running with the minister committed to this. I'm sure very soon, come 2023, we will get what we're looking for.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you. Thank you. I was not stopping you from saying what you wanted to say, though. I just wanted you to round it up quickly so that we could go to the First Lady, and then we don't take too much of the time of the next panel. Thank you very much. Our Excellency, the First Lady of Edo State, Mrs. Obaseki.
Hello, everyone.
Would you like to come up?
Yes.
Let me just stand here. I need to face everybody. Let me first of all appreciate and congratulate Dr. Amadou and Ezinwa for convening this session, or this birthing this conference. I was telling my people that I came with that I do not attend conferences because they become like a cliche. Talk, no action. You know, and I don't do awards. Princess practically dragged me to this
conference practically dragged me here. And up until when I walked in here, I was just wondering, is this going to be worth my while? Is this just a waste of my government's money in paying for me to come? Will there be any value? I hate jamborees. I hate empty talk. I just hate, anyone who's genuine, who sincerely wants to see impact and development in any community that you are involved in, whatever level it is. You really would be fed up with the talk conferences, and no other nation does it better than Nigeria.
Yes.
So the reason I'm coming out here to speak is because I walked in here, I listened to Dr. Eleanor, right? It was
Yes.
on the screen, and I took out my pad and I began to write things down. So I was happy that I was getting value already in the first minute of sitting here. And then on and on with this marvelous panel and everything everyone has said and contributed here I've been just so impressed. Seeing the spirit, I heard Senator Binta there saying that, look, we are here for serious business. So let's not rush. And that inspired me. And I decided, listen, I have to say something here. And let's be serious. I'm just saying this to commend you and to encourage you to take this a notch higher from now on. This is an important conference from what I've seen. If I have been engaged here and I've learned quite a bit, I've been inspired, then I'm sure that you have a lot to offer. And I would like to see this conference grow. This hall is too small, for the issues you're discussing here. You need a lot more people to listen. A lot more out of Nigeria and out of, you call it the African Women Conference. We want to see not 90% Nigerian participation. Let it be 50% Nigerian at least, because we are the giant of Africa, like it or not. And then the other 50% should come from across the country. But let there be a bigger, larger house and participation, because the more people that get to hear these things, the more impact we're going to get. And the sooner and the quicker we'll get to see the things that we want to see in our different countries, especially in mine. So I will encourage you, and I will take an interest in what you're doing, and I'll get my sister excellencies to also be interested. And if we get more and more serious, about what we're doing, we will go places, and this conference will be a landmark, iconic one on the continent. I promise you.
Thank you so much.
So having said that, and we are not rushing. Please, let's not rush. Another thing, I need to correct you. When I saw your program today, I nearly didn't come again. I said, this will aren't serious. How can you give somebody 5 minutes to speak? You have a panel, and it was like, check your program. Panel discussion. I think it was 15 minutes. Senseless. Let's be reasonable, realistic, and practical. And if you're doing business here, let's take it seriously. You don't have to have a long list of who's who in Africa to impress participants. And then you come here and then you have a program that you're not following. If it's only a few people, let people have enough time to talk. This is not a jamboree. We want to come learn, interact, take things back home and implement. Okay, so let people speak, rearrange your schedule. And let's not be in a hurry, conveners, okay? This is serious business, please. That's my piece of advice to you. Having said that, I just would like to share what we've done as governors' wives, because I don't know if my other colleagues who were here earlier had mentioned to you. GBV is my area, and I get excited when I hear things in that happening in that space. Now, last year, like Princess had said, we had a pandemic. And I noticed in my state, at least, that there was a spike in GBV cases. And I got worried. At the time, I was chair of the Southern Governors' Wives Forum. So I called my governor, my First Lady sisters in the South and said to them, listen, this thing, I believe it's not happening only in my state, it must be nationwide. And we have to do something about it because everybody is forced to stay at home, you know. And so there's an increase in violence, especially within the homes. And so let's come out with some advocacy. We weren't doing anything. Everybody was, just grounded, no activity. So I said, let's come together and, talk about this thing, shout about it, make noise, create some trouble. And every one person would say, oh, it's not happening in my state. The other would say, oh, it's not that. No, excuses all over the place. And I thought, okay, it's happening in my state. It's worrying me because we had just lost a young student, if you remember, Weiler, the University of Uniben, young, and I must say, virgin,
intelligent,
brilliant female student in the university. Virgin child who was raped and murdered. And I thought, okay, I have people in my state. It's my problem, and I will tackle it myself. So I got the wives of the local government chairmen across the state. We came together and did an advocacy video, which my husband was very impressed with and then encouraged me to put it on national TV. We put it on national TV. He was so impressed. He said, I'm going to pay for it to run for a week. So in the course of that, the other governor's wives saw, and they started calling me, oh, this is good. Oh, let's do this together. Oh, So, and there was a governor's wife from the north who were calling me to tell me, let's do this together. And I said, okay. So that's how we gave birth to the Nigerian Governor's Wives Against GBV. That's the origin of it. So we got together and formed a strong coalition. And at the time we started, which was last year, May, there were only 12 or so states that had domesticated the VAP law. That's the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of law in Nigeria. It's a national law which every state had to domesticate, and only 12 states, as of last May, had done so. So as we began to collaborate, when we started as a coalition, we had perhaps 18 or so of us who came together initially, and the others were still dragging their feet. But as of today, there are 34 of us on board, okay? And 30 states now have domesticated the VAP law. As a result of governors' wives coming together, peer pressure, pushing ourselves, and when the others saw how, much traction we were getting and all that, they all started coming on board one by one, and we are now one big, powerhouse. We have conferences, annual conferences every year, starting from tomorrow, during the 16 days of activism against GBV. We go to Abuja, we have a big conference, invite the governors, stakeholders, and all, everybody, all governors' wives, and we bring people from our states, we participate. The first one we did was last year, and we had a communique, which we then sent to the Governors Forum, and I want to correct printers there, and we got the Federal Minister of Women Affairs involved, and got her to take it to FEC, so it was our initiative. And it all started from Edo. So she took it to the federal, to the FEC, whilst we pushed the Governors Forum with the chair of the Nigerian Governors Forum, His Excellency Fayemi, and the Governors Forum adopted every item on our agenda, everything. Wow. In it, we recommended that first ladies, that we first said that the president should declare a state of emergency on GBV in the country. We also said that the governor and the president should then more like decree that every state government should set up a GBV committee, GBV mechanism to fight, this problem in their states. And then we also recommended that the first ladies should chair these GBV committees in their states. So like you all know, we are the ones who sleep with the governors. And so that is really where the decisions are made.
Exactly.
And so the GBV committees would then be more robust and have the support that they require from the governors to achieve. So everything we put on that agenda, they adopted. Following that, the president himself now came out on TV and declared a state of emergency and directed that every state government should set up a GBV committee. And then on our own, back home, we took the communique to our various husbands and said, see, we are supposed to chair this thing. So the governors have now set up GBV committees in their various states and are making their wives the chairs. And we're seeing a lot happening now in that space as a result of governors' wives coming together. So that's why when I walked in here and you were doing this thing of holding our hands and all that, it's so important. If we sit in our various small silos, nothing gets done. But if you come together as one force in unity, you know, we achieve what it is that we seek to achieve. And we must keep our hands locked in together continually, all the time, in the face of any opposition. We must just keep pushing ahead and forging ahead. So just imagine a year and a half ago, we only had 12 or 13 states that are domesticated this, and today we have 30. Just in 1 year. You know, the huge, and then GBV, I mean, there's a lot of activity going around across the country, various state governors getting active and their wives and all of that. We have a high number of cases of convictions now because governors' wives are involved. I go to court when there's a case that, you know, grieves my heart, you know. I appear in courts, you know, and they then know that this is serious business in the states. And we've declared zero tolerance to this in our state, and that's happening across the country. So that's what I just wanted to give you an update on that. And we're having, starting tomorrow, on 2nd of December, every year is when we have a conference. So we're having another one this year in Abuja, and it's going to be bigger and more impactful. We're going to be sharing our experiences in the past 1 year. Some of us, 4 states, won a grant from the Ford Foundation to help our work in our states, and Edo happens to be one. We're also having a conference after that to showcase what we've done with that. And it's like somebody mentioned about the community heads and their wives, the chiefs, and all of those being very important. And I also took a cue from the Rwandan government of how they've gotten where they've gotten, because the laws and policies they've enacted and passed at whatever level, the high federal level, they have ensured that it got down to the lowest, smallest community. That's what it is. You know, that's the only way you get results. And that's what they've done that have really taken, it's a big takeaway for us here. That they had, apart from, like Jumaya was saying, laws is not our problem in Nigeria. We have them in abundance. It's the political will and to implement and to enforce. And what is it now? Devising, like they have done in Rwanda, a national action plan. And then another thing I also took away from them is that they also have a monitoring committee or mechanism to ensure, you know, these things are important. These are the things that make a difference. And until we have something else that is so crucial and important is also capacity. You see, it is government, I keep saying it, that government, you see, and that's the biggest problem we have in Nigeria. We have a wrong people in politics and in government. So whilst you're talking about GBV here, you should also be talking about getting the right women in politics. I keep telling my women in Edo that you will not get position in government, affirmative action. Just, you won't be by crying to the men and telling them, give us position, give us power. You won't get it. You will only get it when you have trained yourself, acquired skills, knowledge, capacity to be able to compete with the men. And once you do, you'll be sticking out there like a sore thumb, and they cannot ignore you. They'll have to give you an appointment. So let's encourage ourselves as women to go get knowledge. The days of bottom power is over. Tell them we need women who know, educated, enlightened women with skills, exposure. All of these conferences you attend all over the world should give you exposure. You shouldn't come just because you want to collect Esther code and go home. Open your minds, your ears, learn, grab something, improve your capacity. You are doing that not just for yourself, you're doing it for your community, for your state, for your nation. So at the end of the day, when they're saying women who will appoint, they are doing it in Rwanda. Do you think they got women who were sleeping with their politicians? No, otherwise you won't see a country so developed. In 2 decades, they came from a destroyed country with a genocide to better than a third world country. I came in here for the first time. Since last night, I've been just dazed. I called my husband and I said, look, you have to come here to see what's happening here. You know, this is an African country like Nigeria. And we have everything and more that it takes to be the true giants of Africa. You know, so we need men and women with capacity. We need people to you know, and we must also influence the voters and the people who go to seek political office. We shouldn't support the wrong people. Yes, we should support the right people, whether they're your relations or whoever. Support the right. Let us be patriotic. Let us have be passionate for the development and growth of our country. Nigeria, I know there are more people here than are Nigerians. Let us, I keep saying to people wherever I go, whatever it is that's happening in our country, what's happened in Rwanda? See where they are today, 20 years after. Whatever it is that's happening in Nigeria, Nigeria is destined to be a great nation. And I tell you, it is going to happen in our time, not in our children's time. It is beginning to happen. It has started. Everything is in place. And it will happen, like the Bible says, in the twinkling of an eye. One day overnight, we'll wake up and something has happened and this country is soaring high. So don't lose faith, don't lose hope in Nigeria. All of these things will pay off someday and someday soon. In our time, Nigeria will be not just a great nation in Africa, but in the world. So, but let us resolve to do the right thing. Minister here talked about the country, how they have, and we also said it, what has happened in Rwanda here is that they have a leader who has capacity. It is not just a leader who has capacity. They also have a followership who appreciate good governance and appreciate good qualities in a leader and have given him the support. The problem in Nigeria is there are too many interests and not personal interests in politics. Nobody wants the right thing to happen if it is not benefiting them personally. That's the problem. We have good leaders in Nigeria, but the followers are hopeless, I'm sorry to say. And we as mothers and women should educate them, talk to them, enlighten them. So they come from the wrong side to the right side to support good leadership. So that when we have good men coming, our current president is a good man, but he's had wrong people surrounding him and all the good people. You have a good governor coming out and then clowns, hopeless people who have stolen money, who don't have knowledge or capacity, fighting to bring him down. So these are the things we need to do. Let us come here, talk about good governance, capacity, supporting the right people in government and in politics. When we have the right people there, you will see them empowering the women who have capacity. And our country will be great again. That's my message. God bless us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was a table-shattering presentation. That was a whole session. 2021 AWC delegates. Hello. 2021 AWC delegates. 2021 AWC delegates. 2021 AWC delegates.